All right, guys, we are at an awesome artist's home and studio, Drew Tucker. Hey, Drew.
Hello?
Drew is one of my favorite magic artists and also a good friend of mine. He has moved to near where I live, so we get an opportunity to see some stuff in action. And then there's Nick. He's just going to terrorize everything. Uh, Nick is, by the way, guys, a year and a half, so he's at the crazy mode. Maybe what we could do is, Drew, can you hold Nick while you talk? Yeah, it's fine. Yeah. Just. Or is he too heavy?
No, I just put it. I have some oil on my hand.
Oh, by the way, if a baby touches the oil, does that affect the painting?
No, those are dry.
Okay, yeah.
Those are nice.
Now, if they're not dry, then.
Well, we'd be washing it, baby.
Yeah. Okay. So, guys, while Drew is washing his hands, these are the original replicas for the DANDAN and the PLATEAU. The PLATEAU is from the Alpha set, and the DANDAN is from the Arabian Nights set. And Drew is now on baby duty. Drew, do you want to start a babysitting art studio?
I had two wonderful kids, and I'm done. They're awesome.
Hi.
Babies are okay.
Uh-oh.
But
you can put them down if you want. Come over here, Nick. All right, so guys, the reason why we're doing this video is because these are the only oil replicas that Drew will create. They're kind of special because it's a different technique because I own the original DANDAN. The backstory on it was stolen, sadly, by some thug. It was basically sold to a collector, and some guy from like downtown Seattle just stole it out of his backpack in his car, his rental car. So this is the only oil replica, but the other original was a watercolor, and so. Drew, you did watercolor quite a bit back in the day, right?
Oh yeah. I primarily, I can't say it. I primarily worked with watercolor. Oh, you're cool there. So I mainly did just watercolor. Oh yeah.
Drew, are you distracted with the baby?
No.
Oh, sorry.
My wax wasn't like all the way tight.
Here, Nick.
So I was just making sure that he's okay with that.
Okay.
It's not gonna...
Oh, he loves caps. He'll open them. Yeah. All right, guys. Sorry about that. So, Drew, talk briefly. What is the difference between working with oils and watercolor for this type of piece?
Well, with watercolor, there's, you're working with water. And so, in some respects, there's a little bit of chaos to it, where you can control water, you can control it by its temperature, the different pigments that you put in, but it seeds differently, and it behaves differently. In some respects, you're floating paint into it, where even though with oil you can kind of float stuff in, it's very. It's a lot stiffer, of course.
It's more difficult with watercolor, you think?
They both have their problems, right? There's part of me that, I really, really like oil. Oil's, the amount of control that you can have with it is it's really cool, but at the same time, so when I'm painting oils at this point, I'm trying to paint in some respects and still have occasionally a watercolor feeling. And when I was doing watercolors, eventually I was trying to paint them like oil, so it's hard to put my foot into it because I always miss the other one.
Yeah.
In a funny way. But yeah, oils has a lot more control to it, how you can put stuff in, or maybe how I put stuff in. Because I've seen some incredible watercolor artists that just blow my brains away.
Okay, so when you're creating a replica like these, what do you, how do you get started?
Well, for these, I have some really, really good scans of the paintings, right? So, in order to do my transfer, I actually, it's over here. I'm still over here. In my, ooh, made big prints.
Oh wow.
Yeah, right. And so, and then my carbon paper.
He's calling someone. He's like, you calling someone?
Right? No, you're cool.
You're
Cool. You're
like,
all right. You're all right.
All right, sorry. You have a big scan.
Oh,
Wow.
I just printed them out like exact size, and that way, like when I traced it on, I would get exactly, like.
All right, so the plateau, that's the actual plateau original,
yeah, that's
right?
the actual, like a really
Well,
bad
what I noticed about it though, you extended it.
There are some changes.
Yeah.
Really I wanted to block that in. This is what's difficult for me, like doing recreations, because I see things every time that I wish I did different. I really don't see that much I want to do different with DANDAN.
Right.
But like Plateau is one where there's some issues in it. At the end.
No.
Yeah, you don't want that.
Nick, come here. Nick, come on. Nick.
Yeah, but I like to, for the Plateau, I like that stuff. The brushes are kind of okay.
Nick.
This is good. Oh.
Nick, look at that.
I got something. How about? Oh wait. There's my kid's frog.
Oh, look at that.
This is my frog. Or, even better, a lower mandible.
Come over here, Nick. Come on. Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Take this too.
You have it, Nick. You want some teeth?
I'm gonna trade you.
There you go.
This. Oh, you got it?
See, Drew is a natural at this. Drew, you should totally do this as a side business.
No way. I like kids though.
All right, so
like my own.
So real guys, like the Plateau, you notice the picture, it's kind of, these are bigger. These are 16 by 20s.
Yes.
So you had to incorporate the kind of the stretch it out elements.
Oh yeah,
Is that what happened there?
Instead of because the original was like 6,
7, like 5 by 7.
Yeah, 5 by 7.
Yeah. God, it's so amazing, the colors.
And so like when you're enlarging like this, because they were CD watercolors really. You have to add in here and there. Because a lot of the stuff, some of the strokes that I would make were purely abstract. If I go back and think about it.
Do you guys see these strokes, like the oil, the what is that called when you have the paint, the textures?
Empastic?
Yeah, that's kind of what I requested was I wanted that. I don't know if you guys see all the textures, but I just love that in oils. There's some people that paint in oils that they look kind of flat. But I really appreciate that part of it. I don't know if is that style? Is that something that is difficult?
I think it's a choice because there's moments even in like this where like the sky runs like pretty like flat. There's moments in the DANDAN one up on top where I'm varying the textures.
Right. Like the pontoons are flat, or this is done, right?
Yeah.
You decided to keep those flat, but you wanted to make more of the water muddy and.
Yeah, I wanted that texture to feel it's okay. To feel like kind of like the waves.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like the brightest bulb ever. I'll move this way.
Nick, please. No dog food in the bowl. Jeez.
Oh, if it wasn't Nick, it'd be sad.
All right.
My dog leaves. All
right, guys. Thanks again for bearing with this video. We just wanted to at least get some idea of this awesome. Man, the colors on this is so different. Like the original.
It's a little bit more blue.
Yeah, it is bluer. And also what I noticed is that there's just a lot more colors. Like, it almost looks like... I don't know. Well, first off, guys, the original Arabian Nights card from DANDAN was very black and dark.
It didn't print well. It was real dark.
Very ugly, honestly. But the original painting, definitely you could see the fish pop out. And what I like about this painting is that the water itself really comes out vibrantly different. It's different. It has so much color. I don't know, like the original, like over here on this side, this thing here has a lot more color than than the original. It's almost like you, the oils allow you to do that on way. Right?
Yeah, they do in ways. Like watercolor, and you can show that one if you want, because it's a good example. Like
watercolor. Yeah,
watercolor is kind of flat.
Yeah.
And it's because the pigment just sits on top of the paper, and when the light hits, you know, it's kind of just bounced directly off. Where oils, you often have like layers of oil, which each time the light goes through kind of amplifies it up, and so it brings out its luminosity and makes the colors more intense. So like, which is like why, you know, aside from protecting watercolors, this is why people like put glass on it. Like that's the other thing that the glass will do, is kind of amplifies the watercolor. Like
the head of the fish. I don't know. Like I've studied this painting many times. It's almost like on a watercolor, it is flat. It's like a flat, like, you know how the water just hits in little sections and they just kind of float. Whereas the oils, you can really put that kind of translucent, like almost crystal, like almost like a weird, like glow to it.
Oh,
that you cannot do with a watercolor.
It's specifically because of the medium. Actually, 1 second, my little friend.
Very interesting. Nick the painter. Nick, you're gonna paint? Nick's gonna be a magic artist. All right. So which one was the most challenging piece, do you think, in redoing these?
Like, you know what? I think DANDAN was. There's so much because of the underwater feel. Like, and you know, like I'm not always certain. Oh, it's charcoal. Okay. Just clean it out.
That's fine.
Yeah, I think DANDAN was like the trickiest to get it to feel like it's going down.
Now, is that the medium, or is that because of the just the painting always itself?
I think sometimes the painting always. Yeah.
It's always been that way, huh?
Yeah, it's, for me at least, it's a weird perspective, I think, that kind of gets me, because
it's weird because it's like, is the fish coming, guys, is the fish coming up or is it coming down? It almost seems like it's, in a way, like I always felt that the fish the DANDAN is coming up.
Yeah.
But some people have said that it almost looks like it's coming down, like almost like a earthworm, you know, in a way. Like like some people have said that to me for some reason. Yeah, they've said that. I mean,
okay.
Oh no, I've talked to so many people about it, and that's good. They get their own perspective. But I've always thought of it as you have the fish, and you know it's almost like approaching the pontoons, almost to a point where they're going to flip them over in a way. Yeah, that's what I always thought. But but some people think that this part of it here tends to float down, and it's almost like a push downwards, like it already went up, it was going to decide to go up, and now it went down. It's kind of weird. I don't know. People said that to me.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah,
well, good for them. I'm gonna go for the
other direction.
The other direction.
Well, that's fine. That's what leaves it. I think that's the thing with Dan.
There's a lot of in a lot of my paintings, there's. The better ones, I think, have a little bit of a story in them.
Right.
Which also kind of allows the viewer to fill in.
Better ones? What are you talking about, Drew?
The big flower painting I had finished.
Well, guys, Drew Tucker is easily the most controversial artist back in the 25 original Magic artists of Alpha. He has definitely got the most criticism or the most praise, right? People either loved it or hated it, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So Drew Tucker is not the typical illustration artist. He does do art for commissions that look like, if you want a fish, it looks like a fish. But the truth of the matter is, I think Drew's signature style is that if you look at like the plateau, I mean, you look at this first glance, it does look like a plateau. There's no question about it. But at the same time, it kind of has his style of just I almost call it like this blurriness technique that makes it, you as the viewer, kind of interpret it the way you want. And certain paintings like cards he's done like Goblin Caves or People in the Woods, like paintings where there's a lot more room for him to have that artistic, like you basically chose like different perspectives. They're not like a goblin in a cave. It was literally, if you look at the card, guys, there's a cave and it's very, very, it's very like to your imagination.
Yeah.
Especially like People in the Woods. There's like little dots of watercolor. Look carefully at the painting. There's all this interpretation. And then Dan is probably the most, some people say it's one of the most beautiful paintings ever created in Magic, but has a tremendous amount of interpretation.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Yeah. And so I think, isn't that what you want for your art? Is that you want the viewer to just have their own...
I want them to be able to, add their own information to the story. Which, like, in some respects is difficult because, like, illustration, often needs to be, like, 100% narrative. Where, yeah, a lot of what I've done... Oh, you're all right. A lot of what I've done is... especially the early stuff. The early stuff was like,
well, when you
I
first,
think I had a goal, like when I was young.
When you first did the early stuff, like PLATEAU, Power League, and Clockwork Beast, you had a lot more freedom, right?
Oh yeah, because they called you up and went like Clockwork Beast,
and they didn't care. They were like,
there wasn't a description, and then and none of this existed, so we just kind of got to invent stuff.
Invent. I like that word, invent.
That was a lot of fun.
Yes, you were able to be fully creative.
Yeah.
Whatever, and even like the paintings you did in the dark and everything.
Oh yeah.
You had full reign of whatever the hell you wanted to do.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
We still supplied the the sketches or the roughs because when you're getting paid for making paintings, they really do want to.
But was there any kickback from Jesper? The original art director. Did he ever say?
Jesper, I think Jesper hired me on because I was exactly not a fantasy artist.
Wow. Yeah, you heard it, guys. Yeah.
And where even like my personal stuff, like it all runs, a bit of fantasy into it. But it's not necessarily the traditional bit.
Some of his other personal works that he's making.
It's kind of cool.
It's kind of cool, guys.
Yeah, so I'm a little closer.
So you guys you guys see what's going on here. Drew is not, it's his style is very moody, I would say, has a lot of like personality. It's not just like a person or a dog or whatever the heck it is, a worm. He has, I think his use of colors and textures and the background really incorporates a different feel. That's kind of his signature in a way. It kind of reminds me of the artist Dave Palumbo.
Oh, Palumbo's awesome.
Yeah, and he kind of has a very